includes interviews and just like it's referencing like psychological studies. Like it just is a really amazing book. So I feel like it's good for anybody who's learning astrology and also learning about themselves. I think that you learn astrology by both reading and living. Like I think that because astrology essentially is like a calendar system, like it's based off of observations. And for me, this might be biased because Sagittarius, we quite literally learn by doing. I learned the best by getting astrology books and looking at them and then living a little bit and then going back to those like books as reference and just learning from life and from literature.
That makes sense since astrology basically is how we live.
Yeah.
Well, I'll definitely add that to the show notes. And did you always feel like you would be into astrology? You did say that your family had a background of sorts.
So I was raised without religion. I was raised spiritual before it was cool. And my mom always kind of like, you know, like it was normal to speak to your ancestors and speak to spirits. Like these were things that were cultural, you know, like even the concept of giving offerings and sacrifice and all these things, like they're not foreign to me. I think it's more so because I grew up in a predominantly Christian area, I felt I was bullied a lot by not just like kids, but mainly adults.
Yeah.
And that just made it really hard for me to feel okay being myself. And it made me feel ashamed for what felt like, you know, just like believing in magic, believing that there is something beautiful and whimsical and magical in this world. And I think I've always believed in it. I've always like done those practices and stuff. I think it more so was now I feel not the shame. Like I feel like I'm allowed to be me.
That's beautiful.
Thanks.
A lot of people, I think, struggle with shame.
Yeah.
In general.
Yeah, man. I don't know if you've seen the show Big Mouth.
I haven't.
Oh,
Where
wow.
is it on?
It's I watch it on Netflix. It's kind of controversial because they've kind of taken some very interesting takes. But they have this one character called the Shame Monster. And I think that it's really important for people, if you take anything from that show, take the lesson of the shame monster and being able to figure out how that shame monster pops up in your life. Because I think that people, and kind of what I learned from just a lot of relationships, a lot of people, shame ends up almost like halting or stalling or creating stagnancy and you just finding your own joy. And then it's like you start to sabotage any part of joy that you start to have because you're ashamed of it. And it comes out in relationships, it comes out in friendships, it comes out with family, it comes out in a lot of places. So it's really important to unpack it.
I wholeheartedly agree. Even though it's a heavy thing to unpack.
Yeah, and I think it's really important. I once saw a quote that said, "We fail people when we encourage self-care, but we don't tell them that they deserve and need community care." I think that...
Can you repeat that one more time?
We fail people when we tell them to focus on self-care, when in reality, a lot of people would have needed community care. And I think when we talk about healing, we put a lot of responsibility onto the person, but I like the expression that it takes a community to raise a child. And I don't think that, you know, you lose that community when you become an adult. Like you become indoctrinated into that community. That community needs to continue to exist around you.
I totally agree, because even when you self-care and you have healed most of your shame, if the people around you don't give a safe place for you to continue caring for self, others, and being able to deal with, hey, I'm no longer ashamed. I want to share this joy with you. And they make you feel ashamed for your joy, then it's kind of like, I'm not in the right place.
Absolutely.
Or I'll question myself.
Absolutely. And I think life becomes a lot heavier when you let people know that you're not okay, that you just need someone to be there. And I've actually been unpacking this with myself a lot. I was wondering why I have a pattern of like getting into these relationships with people I would feel as though were like jealous of me or sabotaging me in ways. And like I started to come to the realization that and this is going to be the most like Sagittarius thing to say. It's hard because it kind of cycles in with self-worth, but it also kind of has to do with like, I have this general fear of accepting help from people because I feel like sometimes there'll be like ulterior motives, or that I'm worried that I can't reciprocate it.
Okay. So and then that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So then I've like found myself like dating people who they needed help as well. And I felt like maybe like we could help each other together, and then like it would be this better thing. But like the concept of like, let's say that I met the perfect person and they were with me and they were nice to me and they were kind to me and they went out of their way and gave to me in ways that maybe I felt like I couldn't reciprocate, I would start to wonder if I was a bad person. And I had to unpack that one with myself and realize like, oh wow, you know, like if we started like being more honest in our friendships and kind of speaking words of like, sometimes like I can't fully reciprocate, like sometimes like I can give to you at a later time, and just kind of knowing that we're not giving to take, then it's like maybe our friendships might look different too.
I think it's really big on expressing that instead of keeping it all to yourself. Because I guess our internal dialogue will create these scenarios and these things. But if my friend, I actually have a Sagittarius friend, and this felt like on point. If she ever came and told me that, then I could let her know, like, no, this is what this is. And you know, we do have an equal exchange.
And then, like, I think specifically for Sagittarius, it's still so hard. Like, it's still so hard because it's like Sagittarius is constantly like thinking about the meaning of life and like morals and value. You know, like it's like they're constantly kind of thinking of this. And I think sometimes Sagittarius, people think of Pisces getting lost in their head, but Sagittarius does the same thing. And I feel like it keeps them from having the love that they want and having all that they can have. Because I think that Sagittarius tend to be really good at like putting themselves out there and getting what they want. And then they start to question the morals of, did I actually deserve this?
Yeah. Because Sagittarius is a master manifester. I've seen it.
Yeah. And it's scary.
And it amazes me. It amazes me. Because like you literally said this, and then a couple of weeks later, a month later, or a day later, you have it.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like magic, it is actually, man. And it's scary because I think like for me, like that's why I think I've like dated people who maybe weren't, like I've just put myself and allowed myself to be in relationships that weren't so growing. One, because I think that like I genuinely didn't realize it was that bad. And then two, because I almost feel like I put anchors at my own feet to humble myself in a way. Like I feel like there's nothing this world hates more than a confident Black woman. Like if you are Black and you're a woman and you have self-esteem, how dare you? Who told you?
Who let you in? Who told myself?
People are so mad at Lizzo for loving herself.
Oh yeah, and I love every second of it.
I literally follow Lizzo just to watch Lizzo make the world mad. Like just
be. And I think it's as if it's a luxury to just be.
Yeah.
As if we can't afford the luxury to just be.
Yeah.
And so I get that, especially when I feel like your huge personality and like a huge soul, like a huge energy kind of person, and somebody will come, and that's happened to me in my relationships too, where it's like people will come and see this huge thing and be like, wow, this is something amazing, something big, whatever. And it's like, but I'm insecure, so let's make this smaller.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, this is another thing I really had to unpack for myself. Like, I think with Black people, it isn't always insecurity as much as it is racism. Like, I think
the structural.
Yeah, because it's like I went to so many therapists just to kind of try to get help for my issues, and there was a reoccurring thing of you're insecure, you don't think you deserve as much, da 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 da, and I'm like, okay, but like you failed me when you didn't ask where that came from.
Right, that's for sure true. We need to unpack why that is.
Yeah, and it's like the thing is, like, children aren't stupid. Like, little Black children, studies show that it's like they know that people don't like them because of the color of their skin. They know that their hair is deemed less worthy because of whatever, which is why representation is so important. But it's like, how can you tell? I feel like it's almost gaslighting a Black child when you say, oh, you should be confident, like you should just feel good, when you have an entire society that says, but no, you shouldn't. We have to change the society as opposed to focusing it on the person.
It's like, what tools do I have in order to be confident?
Exactly.
Because if the whole world is telling me I shouldn't be, then am I the wrong one? Is the world the wrong one? Because the world is kind of loud.
Exactly. And so I guess that's like another reason why I created BlackWomenCry. Like when I create memes, I exclusively use Black people as the focus of my memes.
My favorite thing ever.
Yeah. And even like when I just make my content, like I prefer for Black people and Blackness to be the focal point, because we deserve to be seen in a multi-dimensional light. Because even I feel like people minimize all that Blackness is, and it's like Blackness is not monolithic. Like, yes, we have Blackness all around the world, but we also have like diversity of Blackness within subgroups. It's like the African American culture is not a monolith. Like, we have all different types of African Americans.
Yeah, everybody's different, from like where you grew up, how you grew up, what you're into. Like, everyone is multi-layered, and we can't just be this one big thing.
Yes.
It's a whole world in each person.
Yeah. And I think I don't know, I think that a part of the healing process is to accept that you're both everything and nothing at all.
That's really huge. That's deep.
Yeah.
And it's true. Because, like, yes, we are everything in our own individual level, but, like, universally, we're like a drop in a huge bucket.
Yeah. I mean, like, literally, I just continue. I feel like I really have been relating to Aquariuses on a very deep level lately.
Isn't the year of Aquarius starting or started?
I think it might have started. I don't really know. It's so, I'm actually such a bad astrologer. Like, I know where all the like chances are, but I really don't know what people meant by year of Aquarius. I think we're in the year of Aquarius right now.
I don't know if we're transitioning or it's starting, but I know that there's like a big change, especially for 2020. We're going to be full force in that.
Yeah. Yeah. I
don't know how I know. I just know.
I mean,
I've heard,
even astrologically, I would definitely agree with you. Like, just even having our Capricorn stellium with all the, like, just all these planets, everything just in Capricorn right now. And then we're about to have eclipses towards the end of the month. Like, eclipse season is going to start. That's going to be heavy.
This year has been intense.
Yeah.
This year has been a lot.
It has. It's been a heavy year.
I felt like I've had like 3 years in one.
No, honestly, yeah. Yeah, it's been a really intense year. Like this year, they said the decade is ending. I felt like this year was